So now let's talk about your reel. The first and probably biggest misconception that people have about reels is that they need to have lots of professional scenes and that casting directors only care about how professional your footage is. Unfortunately, this is a lie that's kind of being perpetuated by demo reel shooting companies. There's a lot of companies out there that shoot professional scenes for your reel. My company, Actor Screener Shoot, actorscreenershoot.com, we shoot professional scenes for your reel. So why am I telling you not to get a professional scene? That sounds like a conflict of interest. Well, the truth is I'm trying to advise you on what makes the most sense based on where you're at in your career. Now, if you're just putting together your basic marketing materials, meaning your headshot, your resume, and your reel, you actually don't really need so much a reel as you need at least some footage of yourself performing. A casting director cares way more about how you look on camera and whether you can actually act and whether they can really feel the emotion coming out of you than they care about seeing you in a professional environment. Obviously, that's a plus, and that can come later when you're ready for it. But if you don't have any footage of yourself performing, you don't need to spend money. You could literally take a camera or have a friend hold up your iPhone or something and film yourself doing a monologue or having a conversation with somebody. But what you want to make sure of is that that scene actually is reflective of your brand. So whatever your brand is, let's say your brand is the strong, determined, and loving father, strong, determined, loving father who can be naive at times or something, right? So now we've got a brand, and how can you get that across? Do you want to write a monologue? Do you want to have a scene where you're talking to somebody and you want to play up certain aspects of that brand? So you could play a father, or if you have a different type that you want to focus on for the scene, maybe you could play fathers, but you also play teachers or something, and you want to be the strong, loving, and, caring teacher or whatever. So you're basically going to write or come up with a scene that actually demonstrates that. And if you'd like to have the naive part or whatever your dark word is, play a little bit into the scene to make it more interesting, totally feel free to do that. But your goal is to just get some sort of footage of yourself, and it needs to be very clear, meaning we need to see you. The camera should be fairly close to you, and we should be able to hear you very clearly. So you need good lighting and you need good sound. And in a future video, I'll talk all about how to build your own cool makeshift studio virtually for free or extremely cheap so that you can do self-tape submissions and film footage for yourself for reels and all of that. But the key is that you get some sort of footage where it's easy to see you and your performance is really on point. And in a minute, I'm gonna go through kind of a demo reel checklist if you are deciding to do a full reel with numerous different scenes in it. But for now, the most important thing is that you have at least one scene showing you and that your acting is really on point. The best way to find out, I'll have a different video on how to, learn how to know whether your acting is good enough. But for now, I just want you to keep in mind that if your performance, when you film yourself, if you watch it and you're willing to sit down right next to an acting teacher and show them the scene because you feel like you did a great job in it and you can't really see anything that you did wrong, then your footage is probably good enough. But most of the time, actors, when they record, they don't like to see themselves perform and they feel awkward about it. And that means that there's probably something there that they could have worked on to make it better. So kind of use that as your initial barometer, so to speak, as to how good your performance is. If you feel totally confident in it and you're willing to sit down with somebody and play the footage back to them, then it's probably good enough, at least for the time being, to use as some sort of footage for when you're submitting to auditions. Now, just a quick shout out for my services. I have two specific services. One is called Actor Screener Shoot, so actorscreenershoot.com. That's where we shoot high-end professional scenes for your reels, and we write the scenes. Everything is customized to you. The other website is demoreelsnyc.com, and in that one, that's all about editing reels from footage that you already have. So if you've got scenes, or you can't even access scenes, you just have like a director who's, being a jerk and is refusing to give you your footage, we will actually go out and contact the director and try to get your footage for you. I mean, there's a charge for that, but we can totally take care of that stuff and get all your footage together and actually cut a reel together for you. Now, I'd like to go through a few quick checkpoints on reels or footage. The first thing is it absolutely needs to be 2 minutes or less. Ideally, keep it about 1.5 minutes or less, okay? But 2 minutes is kind of your upper limit. So you should choose your own scenes. Don't just send off all your footage and be like, okay, you do the rest, can you cut together something? No, it's much better for you to actually sit down, take some time, look through your footage, and really ask yourself, what is my brand, and is this footage supportive of that, and do I look my best? And then you can tell the reel company, if they're doing it at a separate location and you're not sitting in with them in person, you could say, okay, in this first clip I want to use from 1 minute and 15 seconds to 1 minute and 35 seconds or so. In this clip I want to use this to this section. This way they kind of have a general idea and they can compile it all together and then shorten it down for you. But the key is that you're actually the one who's telling them the scenes, because you know your brand better than they do. The next thing to know is that the footage that you select, in addition to being within your brand, should also have a range to it. So you don't want to just show scenes where you're yelling or crying or whatever. Show all different types of stuff to show that you're able to perform in all different situations. Now, all the footage ideally should be within your brand, meaning like whatever your pride words are and your dark word, it should show elements of that and you playing the specific types that you focus on. So if you're in a film and you're playing like some gangster, but in general you never do gangster roles and you hate playing gangsters and that was the only scene that you were ever in, you might not need to include that. I wouldn't actually recommend including that in your reel. I would recommend including the stuff that you're really focused on and you most love doing, because otherwise, if somebody sees that footage, it'll either stick out and kind of be weird, or they might call you in for that and now you're going to find yourself doing projects that you don't want to really be involved in. Next thing is to skip a montage. Do not include a montage in your reel. It used to be something where at the beginning of the reel, the first 10 or 20 seconds was all different clips of people performing and stuff. If you absolutely want to have a montage, put it at the end and only keep it to a few seconds, and it should only have super high budget, really cool looking stuff, like stunts or different things like that. Otherwise, skip the montage and then make sure to put your absolute best, strongest scenes first. And that means either scenes that are, from big productions, so like famous scenes or scenes where you're acting with a well-known actor, or scenes where you can really see the emotion and really feel something when you're watching it. Stuff that's going to make the casting director get those goosebumps. When a casting director or someone's watching your footage and they watch a scene and they get goosebumps, you know that you've got them and they're going to want to bring you in. Now make sure that your reel is showing that you can act for whatever type of acting that you're submitting for. So if you're submitting for stage, show footage of you doing stage acting and on a stage. But if you're submitting for screen acting, make sure that your acting isn't theatrical and too big. Everything should be subtle and natural. Screen acting is definitely different, and so just be really careful when you're looking at your footage. It can be easy sometimes to accidentally select a clip that doesn't look as natural as something else, and that's a really big red flag for casting directors. If they see any theatrical acting, they're never going to bring you in for an audition. Now, on top of that, you also want to make sure that you cut your scene short. And what I mean is, since we're trying to keep your reel under 2 minutes, ideally to 1.5 minutes, you might have 5 or 6 scenes, and you might have one scene where, you say a line or two, and then another character says 2 or 3 more lines, and then it's you again saying a line or two, right? You can actually use special editing techniques, and this is something that we do at demoreelsnyc.com, where we show your lines, and then maybe we just show one sentence of what the other actor is saying, and we still make sure that it's a smooth cut and that it makes sense, and then we show all the rest of your lines. This way you're kind of shortening the scene. You're still keeping all of your stuff, but you're shortening the other actors, and it's not done in a way that there's a distracting, noticeable cut. It all runs smoothly. We blend the music and the audio together and all of that. Whoever edits your reel should be able to do those things so that you cut the scenes down to just the best of the best parts showing you. Now, we've talked briefly about having professional footage in your reel. When you're starting out, it's not necessary. Honestly, even if you're trying to get an agent or a manager, it's not fully necessary. It can definitely be helpful to have professional footage in your reel, but the truth is that agents and managers really care about your experience and your acting ability. And that's why filming yourself performing and showing something really clear where it's you talking to another actor, that's going to definitely be better. But if you can get a professional scene, if you can afford it, having at least one of them in your reel can really supplement and make it look like you're more experienced and that you have more experience and, on set practice. Now, the last thing to keep in mind about your reel is that you don't just need one reel. These days, it's actually becoming increasingly common to have individual clips showing different types of characters that you can play. So that's a strategy. So in addition to having a full reel, you should have individual clips. But another thing is you should also have a couple of different reels. So like one reel for commercial work, one reel for like comedic work, one reel for more like serious, intense stuff. And then you submit the specific reel to the casting director for whatever you're auditioning for. Now, of course, if you don't have a lot of footage, it can make sense. It would make sense for you to want to combine it into one, but I still don't really recommend doing that. I'd rather have your reel only be like 45 seconds long than to have a reel that's 2 minutes and has like all kinds of random unrelated stuff, because then it really just makes it look like you're trying too hard to fill in your reel. It's better to have a really short thing. Remember, keep in mind, if a casting director wishes that your reel was longer, they're probably going to want to bring you in to see you more.